on what is Spirit, November 12th, 2023, 17:45 hours. Manila, Philippines contact report 579. Date and time of contact Thursday, 16th of January 2014, 15:03 HRs.
Now, first of all, I want to explain the term spirit, Geist, respectively, which is origin term Geist, which actually traces back to Nocademian and is to be found in the storage banks, although in this also the meaning awaken can be found. If here, for example, of creative spirit energy is to be spoken, then this means creative revival energy. From this is to understand that the creation, or rather the creation energy, is a factor of awakening, respectively of creating, and I mean through the power, vibrations, and impulses here, its own energy. Only in this sense is to understand the term spirit. A giving in the storage banks explains that the term is recorded from time immemorial, staying constant up into the ancient German language, out of which indeed finally the German language originated. When then the language stem German was pushed into the background, the term Geist underwent various changes, whereby ultimately the term was shaped to the word Geist, spirit. With the entire change process was then also the sense of the term lost and was explained with shiver, frighten and arouse, etc. Then ultimately in the new time to come to be mixed with the religious and sectarian idea of a God spirit, which also had found admittance in Greek with pneuma, Sanct Spirit, and in Latin with spiritus, Sanct Spirit, etc. The spirit was, for example, also associated with a soul with a beyond expectation, and includes up to the present time also often spiritual acceptance regarding a not being bound in the physical body, however also with an influencing pure or absolute, transpersonal or even transcendental intelligence, which was created by a god or similar in nature to him, if not just to be identical with him. In the Christian world of ideas in comparison, is even a Holy Ghost to be understood as a person, in a symbolic way as doves or as eyes representing spirit gods. The term spirit in general has also found other admittance in the language use of humans of Earth, whereby very strange effects were caused by it. So, for example, since time immemorial and up into the present time the consciousness of humans is understood as spirit, consequently this is spoken to by him if he uses the term spirit, like for example in a prayer. This actually can be accepted and allowed, because indeed in this case always of one's own consciousness must be spoken in order to animate it to valuable activity. However, it is incorrect. If then the term spirit is connected with a deity and with a God delusion faith, because namely in this case is foolishly attempted to enter into association with some imaginary and non-existence. Furthermore, the human being of Earth also uses the term spirit in an incorrect way for his power of thought and for his mind, as well as also in ways like, his spirit has become confused, his spirit is disturbed, he is spiritually sick, a great spirit, he is no great spirit, a human with awakening, active or slow spirit, he has spirit, a spiritual book, etc. Further, with spirit is also described the entirety of thoughts and ideas, as well as also that in the spirit an event is experienced once again or is seen by the spirit beforehand. Also an attitude or belief is connected with the spirit. In expressions of life and the spirit, or of a time is incorrectly used also, though the spirit purely has nothing to do with all of these things and factors, because instead in every case only and alone is the consciousness responsible. Further, totally incorrect forms turn up in the sayings regarding spirits from fermented fruits and berries, etc., like earthberry spirits, etc. Also regarding humans in view of certain qualities and abilities, on the effect, which they exert, is the term incorrectly used, as well as also, she is the good spirit of the house, you are a restless spirit, a ministering spirit, etc. Ultimately is the term spirit incorrectly also still used for allegedly returning deceased, as well as form-like appearances from the dead. Many places and in the beliefs of peoples are also creatures of nature in human forms described as earth spirit or air spirit, as well as, however, also alleged supernatural creatures, ghosts, and demons, and, as already mentioned, the Holy Spirit, the spirit of darkness with the devilish spirit. Further there is with the belief in spirits, in an evil or good spirit, as well as also with the speaking way, are you all good learning spirits? As spirit or spirit associated, etc., in incorrect ways also things, matters and conditions, etc. are described, which have nothing to do with it, like consciousness power, belovedness, blessedness, comprehension, character, imagination, wealth of ideas, sensory perception, insight, experience, cognition abilities, expert, ability, feeling, learnedness, cleverness, greatness of mind, mental strength, disposition, genius, brilliance, guardian, convictions, humor, individuality, inner being, inner life, inner world, inwardness, instinct, intelligence, clearness, eminent authority, creativity, zest for life, light, natural wit, nature, phenomenon, personality, productivity, psyche, talent, perspicacity, acuteness, astuteness, quickness of repartee, creator mind, creator-like, creative soul, specialist, competence, judgment power, predisposition, vision, delusion, wisdom, long-sightedness, creature, wit, essence type, etc. Many humans of Earth think that the spirit may be the brain, while others assume that some other part or a function of the body, like for example the consciousness, may be to name as spirit. This is, however, fundamentally false, because the brain is of purely body-like material nature, and the consciousness is anchored in this. The brain itself is something that can be seen with the eyes when it is uncovered, like it, however, also can be observed by outside apparatuses or measured with electromagnetic probes in its activity. Therefore, it can be photographed, analyzed, and operated on. This, whereas the consciousness is not traceable in this way, because it constitutes a fine material function of the brain, and possibly can only be measured electronically in its ability. In contrast to the brain, the spirit is not material, but finest material nature, and accordingly thus still a great deal finer material than the fine material consciousness, which exercises a part function in the brain. And as the spirit is of finest material nature, it can neither by some apparatus nor device, nor with the eyes be observed, seen, nor somehow registered. Thus, it can also neither photographed over even through bodily inner or outer circumstances, nor by thoughts, feelings, sickness, accident, drugs, poison, or medicines, etc. be attacked, damaged, or through an operation be treated. The brain is therefore not the spirit, but this is simply only a part of the body, and within this there is nothing, which can be identified as spirit, except the spirit itself, which is established as tiniest piece of creation spirit in the roof of the midbrain paired node, fra superior colliculus. So the entire body and the brain of humans, as well as the spirit, are two fundamentally different natures, which both coarse material as well as also their finest material kind are of a fundamentally different nature. And if the consciousness is considered, this is a function of the brain, so this can, through thoughts, for example, be extremely devoted and active, and spring from one object to another, while the body remains completely relaxed and motionless. The spirit itself then is in no way affected, because it is not identical with the consciousness, but it is that creative energy factor which enlivens the consciousness, whereby it the body and all of its functions are powered as well. This expresses clearly and unambiguously that the consciousness, the body, and the brain absolutely are not of the same nature as the spirit. In the Nocademian storage banks, I have learned a word regarding the difference between the spirit and the human, which vividly presents that the spirit of the human is a tiny part of creation energy in the human. So this can with the human, for example, in a way be compared to, as the human body is similar to a guest house, in which the spirit stays as guest, where it also feeds itself and makes payment for this. If the guest house, however, is demolished or somehow destroyed, then the spirit, which indeed is guest, leaves the place of destruction. For humans is to be realized that this means that the spirit in him as guest lives and learns, receives food and lodging, and at the same time it enlivens, pays for food and lodging to the entire body. And when the human dies, then the spirit escapes immediately from the body and goes over into its beyond area, in order then with the next new personality in the next life again in it, to become bound and to be a new guest in a new human body. The spirit is therefore not the brain, as it is also not some other part of the human body. It must be understood as a formless continuum in the roof of the midbrain paired node, some superior colliculus, of the human. And because the spirit is of formless or non-material nature, it can also not feel or grieve, be sick or be hindered or harmed by any material object or through intelligence of the human. It is therefore very important to understand that there are no unpeaceful or peaceful spirit conditions, because such conditions are reserved alone for the human consciousness. Solely can unpeaceful or peaceful or sickness conditions only appear in the consciousness, which can disturb or lift up the inner peace, because only the consciousness is able to create through thoughts and feelings, rage, envy, and desiring disadvantage, blindness, or valuable peaceful conditions, because the spirit itself behaves in every way absolutely neutrally and does not interfere in consciousness interests. The human alone is therefore in every relation responsible for the well-being and sorrow of his consciousness. Consequently, he himself always is responsible for all of his strivings and thought-feeling psychic-like suffering, not however his spirit, as well as also not other humans, bad community, material or social conditions, etc. Truthfully originates all of this suffering through blind and pathological as well as incorrect consciousness conditions, though the thoughts and feelings play a very important role. The most important point with the understanding of the consciousness is that liberation from the mentioned suffering is not outside of itself, but can only be found in it itself as well as the thoughts and feelings. A continual liberation can therefore not be found through the spirit, but by only through the purification of the consciousness, as well as the thoughts and feelings. If henceforth the human wants to be free of the consciousness, thought, feelings, psychic-like suffering as well as problems and sorrows, and if he wants to find continuing peace, freedom and harmony, and an everlasting inner happiness, then he must deepen his knowledge and understanding of the consciousness. In conclusion is still the following to say, which I have already previously written, and here add as partial repetition of the explanation. The human spirit to locate and track down, at least at the present time, is impossible for the human, because neither among the necessary apparatuses nor similar means he has at his disposal can he track down spirit energy and to measure this. The human spirit, respectively the spirit form, cannot be seen by humans, because the pure creative spirit energy cannot be detected by human eyes as well as also not sensed. There are also still no apparatuses or analyzing devices, etc., also not of the ranges of ultraviolet or infrared, through which it would be possible to see the spirit respectively, the spirit form, because spiritual energy is as invisible as pure air. The spirit, respectively the spirit form of the human, is of a purely creative energetic nature, and has nothing to do with the consciousness, as well as also not with brain flows which can be detected and measured. Incorrectly, since time immemorial, the consciousness has been described as spirit of the human, although the spirit, however, is totally of another nature than the consciousness. The spirit, or rather, the spirit form of the human is purely creative, while the consciousness is a factor of the human and responsible, that thoughts can be created from out of it, whereby also complete rational logic emerges from it, such as understanding and reasoning as well. The spirit, respectively the spirit form, on the other hand, is only creative nature-like predetermined energy, which enlivens the human body. When the spirit leaves the human body, Then it escapes into its beyond plane, which exists in the same space as the present reality of the planet, though the so-called beyond plane is in another dimension in comparison to the real material reality space, and I mean in finest spiritual energetic nature. Regarding the planet, the beyond plane therefore is arranged around it. Like this plane, however, also is further existing universe-wide. However, in contrast to the material reality plane in a finest material, to which the human as material life form in no way has access, and consequently nothing can be seen and nothing detected. Therefore, is it in this plane impossible for human to see or somehow detect the material body escaping spirit, respectively spirit form? That the beyond area of the planet in a differently dimensioned form than the real material reality space is not only arranged for it, but also in the entire universe, this has its reason. So emerges from the spirit teachings that if a planet is destroyed or simply made incapable of life, that the on there existing spirit forms and the other lying fallow spirit energies then are not destroyed, but that these emigrate in order to travel for so long through space until a new planet is found on which human life exists. On this planet the spirit forms settle, then again mix themselves with the already there existing ones and so go forward again, respectively, further into a cycle of reincarnation, respectively rebirth. That, dear friend, is my explanation, and like I already said at the beginning, it has turned out to be somewhat detailed.
This proves, then, that you were able to explain the whole thing a great deal better than this would be the case from my side. It is really astonishing how clear your explanations are, which are even able to be understood by people who are not familiar with the spirit teachings.
Thanks, but a certain thoroughness is simply necessary.